we discuss about these different types of issues and what really magic is all about, and the lineage and the history of magic, the lineage and the history of these different topics that we've been exploring for so long, and that have been explored for generations and generations. So I want to go ahead and pull up my slides here, because we're going to get right into this. The Royal Societies, okay? So before we even get into this PowerPoint about the Magi Decoded, about the Wizard Decoded, about this mystical being or the mystical teachings, and how to really live a magical life, how to live a supernatural life, how to live a life that's beyond the 3D dimensions, okay? And this is what our world is truly about. I know that there's a lot of different theories and people have their own ideas of what they think this reality and this matrix is about. Well, there's a lot of things that are going on, and a lot of the truth is simply just not told to you. And here's the truth, is that I find that there is such a big blind spot in these online communities, especially in the YouTube sphere and in the truth communities and the conscious communities, where a lot of people, they may have the knowledge of the archons, they may have the knowledge of the demiurge, they may have the knowledge of the matrix, but they're missing a huge majority of the knowledge. Okay? And that huge majority of the knowledge is understanding that you are fundamentally a magical, mystical, ethereal, multidimensional being that is omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. You simply are just not accessing your fullest potential. So we did a lecture recently on the initiation of magical currents and the Wizard Magi Decoded, and it has become my life's work. It's become very apparent, and it was very apparent to myself, but also to understanding, like, what is the purpose of this path, or what is the purpose of a spiritual being existing in a reality like this. And it's very simple. The answer is that we are here to master our magic. We are here to master our spiritual abilities. We're here to master our life force, our ability to wield the magical currents. So I want to make a distinction here, and we will get into the distinctions in a bit, but one of the things people kind of get mistaken is they think, okay, well, I can do a little bit of aerokinesis, or maybe I can move energy, or I can move a little bit of consciousness, or I can kind of project my consciousness. Well, there's so many levels to this mastery. There's so many levels to understanding magic and understanding the potentialities of what a human being can accomplish. Because you have to fundamentally understand that you're not a human being. You are a spirit, and an immortal spirit, an eternal spirit that's existing in this finite construct of reality. Okay? So let's get into this PowerPoint. This is one of my PowerPoints, and basically these are our professional lessons that we teach at the School of Mysticism, and they're much, they're very high quality. They're obviously very professionally done. We discussed a lot about the Magi's and the wizards and this Magi lifestyle, this magical lifestyle, the lifestyle of interacting with spirits and energies and multi-dimensions and learning to wield my reality into fruition, into existence, basically on a whim, or basically each day. This is the way that we navigate the world at this point. So for people that are talking about the fifth dimension and being in, higher states of consciousness, this is what this actually means, is that you actually live your life and your existence as the Magi. As the Magi, meaning that you're sitting there and you're coming up with creations, ideas, blueprints, designs, even the way your very consciousness is existing and perceiving reality. Because even your perception, you have to understand, your perception is something that there's a spell over. So there's spells and spells and spells that have been cast by these black magi, which we discussed in the last video. Make sure you watch the Royal Occultism video. Well, we talked about how the black magi had cast perception spells of illusions around the consciousness of humanity. So that way they could not even perceive beyond the third dimension. They could not perceive beyond this physical realm. You would always find yourself stuck in this physical existence where you could not sense or perceive or be in tune with anything that's beyond, yet there would actually be dimensions, entire worlds, entire realities that are all around you that you may not be conscious of. And even creatures, even entities, even other forces. So I have met other creatures and I could not call these beings entities. They would not be considered entities because they are human-like, some of them. I'm not going to get into specifics here, but let's just say recently I've been exploring and really seeing a lot of different beings, and I've met some, beings what people would call the Fae. People would call the Native Americans had a word for it. I can't remember the name on the top of my head, but the little leprechaun beings, the ones that are like this tall. They're only a few inches tall, and they're humanized. They're human shaped. So there's all kinds of lore about the pixies and the dwarves and that kind of stuff. But you have to realize that this, like when you open your level of consciousness to higher frequencies, you start to perceive existence very differently than the average person. You may also experience the gang stalking, the targeted individual syndrome, the NPC hive mind, okay? The influences of the Matrix, essentially, okay? So, here's my book right here. Here's the newest book that's coming out. It's pretty awesome that it pops up first thing. The first thing I typed in was Agenda AI, Avoid the Archon Deception of the Simulatrix. Modern Society Gone Rogue, How to Bypass Gang Stalking and the AI Paranormal Encounters. So it's right here. And this is coming out soon. March 7th, okay? If it gets really loud, apologies. That is the rain coming down hardcore. So we're going to be talking about infinite energy perception and infinite energy awareness and how to tap into infinite energy. One of the biggest things that I see, and this is part of being the Magi, the wizard, okay? One of the biggest things that tends to happen for people is they tend to burn out their flame, especially if they're doing spiritual teachings or even if they're in their spiritual world, like they're trying to develop their spirit. They will burn out. They will lose the fire, or the fire will kind of dwindle. And I've experienced this myself as well, but I know how to rejuvenate the fire. And that's what I want to talk to you today about, is do you know how to rejuvenate your infinite energy fields? Do you know how to basically bring back more power and more spirit and more creativity, more ingenuity, more possibility? Each time you wake up, each time you rise, each time you're working on your mission, your creations. This is what we have to focus on. This is the important thing, is that when we learn to generate our power continuously, we no longer feel like we're at the mercy of the external world. So, I'll get into some examples later on. But definitely one of the things that I saw is, we can see this matrix kind of collapsing around us in certain ways, where there's certain things with the financial system that are going on. There's certain things with certain countries and political leaders, kind of going insane and all these different things, right? So the average person that's experiencing this, they're kind of sitting back, or even the average person who's awakened, quote unquote, or sees some of the truths and sees the problems in this world, they basically are, they're in a fear state most of the time. They're going to be like, okay, well, there's not enough. There's, everything's shutting down. I need to just get out and go somewhere and hide or something like that. Or just find some sort of sanctuary. And there's no real thought or process on progeneration or creation or continuously building their reality in their worlds. It's always about how can we survive. It's never about how can we progenerate. And so this is the problem that I've identified in human consciousness. And I identified it first in my own self, and then I dealt with it, I worked on it, and I transmuted it, and I transcended it. So part of being a Magi is to be able to transmute and transcend almost any single energy or limiting frequency that you may experience in this game. Because this is a game, first and foremost. You must not take this reality seriously. If you take this reality seriously, when I mean seriously, I mean you should not be swayed emotionally. by the currents and the changes of the matrix, the system, the illusions of the archons and the deceptions, and you certainly should not be in fear over certain things. So one of the things that people are highly in fear of is reincarnating or being trapped here. And I can tell you, at a certain point in your level of consciousness, you simply do not fear those kinds of things because you know thyself. You know thyself as an infinite creator of potential and power. Therefore, you no longer fear reincarnating. You no longer fear being controlled by external narratives. Now it's up to you to basically be in charge of your own stratosphere, your own dimension. You understand? So, these are just some of the thoughts that I was having recently. And we're going to be talking a lot about the Magi's and mysticism and tapping into healing and divination and the different spiritual energies and learning protection as well as conjuration and spellcrafting coming up soon here. Okay? So what I want you to do is, if you're resonating with this information, go ahead and leave your thoughts in the chat below. Interact. I want to see interaction on here. And I'm going to go for about an hour or so probably. And we may cut it early. We may, go longer. It's going to depend on how I'm feeling and how the energy's flowing. But it's really important that this information gets out there. And this is why I take my time out of my day to come on here onto YouTube and to share the Gnosis. Because I know that the information that I'm teaching is life transformative. This information, if it was shared with the world, would change our world. We would no longer have a society that was enslaved by interdimensional beings. We would have a free society that knew how to access free energy from their own infinite selves and from the technologies that they would be able to subsequently build. But because we live in a reality where there's mainly fear and mainly illusions, and because humans are bred as cattle, what can you do? All I can do is be the light and be the best version of myself and hope that there are people that are learning and resonating and following along. And I think this is one of the reasons why the Magi's or the mystics, they would go live at the very edge of society or out of society. They would go live all the way by themselves, somewhere far away from everybody else, from the madness, from the chaos, from the mayhem. Because they knew that the unenlightened ones were a plague upon the planet. They were the ones that were causing the suffering. They were the ones that were causing the negativity and the fear. This recording will be available. The live will be available, yes. So, we really do have to understand that we are so much more than we've been taught. And I know a lot of people are out there and they may be struggling with their lives, they may be struggling to, pay their bills or find a home that they're happy with or find someone that they can relate to or, just find balance in their life, stop themselves from being psychically attacked or affected by negative energies. And I understand, I feel for you. I get it. But also I have information that will help you. Like, genuinely turn your life around. If you are willing to put the time and energy into learning. But you have to be willing. Okay? You have to be willing to take the time to actually sit down and meditate on these words. And stop feeding your mind with all the crap of this world. Because the truth communities have become such a distraction, it's crazy. Talking about politics, talking about this, and talking about that, that's such a waste of time. Where is the magic? Where is the mysticism? Where is the spirit? Where is the infinite power? Where is the infinite creativity? It seems to be lacking. It seems to be lacking in most people. So we have to start to come up with something better if we are to ascend as humanity. If we are to get out and break out of this black magic cage that so many people are stuck in, we have to start to tap into more power. We have to start to understand that we're dealing with a very complex reality. The other problem is that there seems to be an intelligence that controls the internet these days. And if you offend that intelligence, or if you speak out of turn, it basically tries to suppress you. Okay? So I've already dealt with this so many times, I'm not even going to go into it. But I did lose my train of thought there. So let's pick it back up where we were going. So basically, yeah, I was talking about that there was a lack of creativity in this world. And that's one of the things that I've been sensing and recognizing in the Matrix reality. And that's mainly because of the infiltration that has happened to so many human beings when they have been disconnected from their magical abilities, from their psychic abilities, from their ability to create and to craft the world that they wanted to create. So the wizards were those that actually spent an immense amount of time, thousands of hours studying magical crafts, perfecting their potions, elixirs, meditations, trance states, and learning to read their libraries and learn new spells, learn new occult traditions, learn new herbalistic techniques, learn new sorcery techniques. This is all the manipulation of the life force energy, of the planet, of oneself, of the plants, and then of the different sources of magical energy that exist around in the multiverse. Okay? So the Magi, or the Light Magi, is learning to basically use the power of their imagination to craft and create what they want in their world. Now, let me answer a question that I think I'm already going to receive telepathically, which is, well, I didn't create this suffering in my life, or I didn't create this problem or that problem. And what I believe is that when we are unconscious, or when we're unsure of where our energies are going, or we're not triple checking the energies that are in our lives, so from other people that are bringing in frequencies, this is how we get split and altered and off path, and disconnected from the infinite self that we are. So remember that this game is about your infinite self. It's not about your physical avatar. It's not about the things that you do in this physical world. It is about this infinite self that is behind the screen, behind the scenes, that is learning and operating and being connected to you, and whether or not you're connecting to that. So if you're not connecting to that, then you're not tapping into your infinite gnosis. And maybe and basically your life is going to suffer, so you're always going to be at somebody else's call or somebody else's authority. But being in charge of your own reality means that you're the executive decision, you're the executive designer of your world. So actually, what that looks like is, well, we've seen it firsthand what that looks like. That means that there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of moving parts in your reality. You're going to be juggling several different things. Your own spirituality, maybe your businesses or where you're living, like all these different things, all these different variables. Okay? And you as the infinite self has to learn how to surf the tides. Okay, so this is the interesting part, is that it is truly like surfing. It is truly like swimming in the ocean. Once you catch the current and you learn to navigate it, you'll be able to propel yourself further. But sometimes you can catch a current, you can go for a long time, and you can actually lose steam if you're not perpetually building. So we have to learn to perpetually build. And this has been a lesson for myself as well. You know, as we come into 2023, I made it a new vow, or not really a vow, but a new thing in my mind to really give it 110%. That means 110% to the School of Mysticism, 110% to YouTube, 110% to all the creations that were created to my book, and to life in general. Okay, so sometimes we can get bogged down or we can get busy with things. You know, we have so much going on in our own lives, like moving and traveling and just the process of that. And then you get so overwhelmed or you can get so lost in what you were doing. And then it's been 2-3 days, you haven't even done your magic. You haven't done that power, that source of power. So how do you bring it back? How do you keep infinite energy consciousness going? Well, through training and through willpower and through discipline and through being accountable. So a community like the School of Mysticism is great. Our community online here is amazing because we all come in, like when I come on, you guys are holding me accountable just as much as I'm holding you accountable. Because we know what we're supposed to be talking about. We know what we're supposed to be discussing. We know that the world outside of us is an illusion. I see so much distraction. I'm not going to call it out specifically, but what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on the never-ending pursuit of learning the truth, quote-unquote, which is just facts and figures and trying to figure out this? Or are you actually trying to develop your power? There's a difference between academically being smart and just reciting a bunch of information and just remembering all this stuff and actually knowing how to wield your magic. So who's teaching you how to wield your magic? This is what we have to be focusing on. So I have in-depth broken this down, in depth on basically everything you need to do to become a master sorcerer at this point. So that means you could create the life of your dreams and learn how to protect your energy field. And you don't have to go through certain trials and tribulations that you may be facing, or you will learn how to navigate around them because you will be in touch with the very force energies, the very energies of everything. And even the God of this world has to answer to those energies, whether or not he will admit it, or whether or not it will admit it, because it's no longer a he. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you some of our other slides. We went over a little bit about the wizard magi, and I want to now talk about introduction to ESP, psychic awareness, and aura development, because this is super important as well. And we're going to be going over this full curriculum will be on Sunday for those of you that are part of my group training program, which our enrollment closes tomorrow night. So yeah, we're very much looking forward to that, and we're going to be talking, this is our first class, and I'm going to go through some of the slides because one of the things that I've seen as I've been talking about this information and sharing it and speaking with different people is most people are just simply not aware enough of the psychic energies around. So they're not able to tap into ESP, they're not able to tap into their aura. And I saw this as a problem, and I said, okay, well, how can I help as a teacher? How can I start to teach people how to sense their auras better? So we got to go over some of the key information. And this is an introduction to ESP and psychic awareness, as well as aura development, okay? And our full lecture, as I said, this full lecture will be hosted on Sunday, okay? So this class is an introductory class designed to teach the fundamentals of psychic awareness, ESP, higher sensory perceptions, higher sensory abilities, awareness of higher forces, metaphysical planes of dimensions, and ethereal and psychic data. Also, how to use and recognize the signs, frequencies, and vibrations of your environment, to interpret the information of the spiritual and the multidimensional planes, and to engage on a resonant level. So we will be covering psychic awareness, telepathy, clairsentience, intuition, remote viewing, psychic scanning, and various other ESP abilities and techniques. You will also learn how to practice using modern practice methods to hone your psychic and etheric development. So it's really important to learn like actual techniques to train your senses, because if you're not training your senses, you could have a really spiritual experience or something, and then you could experience magic, you could experience the force, you could experience the currents that flow all around you. You could experience being in tune with your environment, but then you may forget how to connect back in. So it's important as individuals that are seeking to learn and to master your psychic awareness to actually have specific techniques and strategies that you can repeatedly, testably do to hone in and practice and focus your connection. So one of the things that I do is a vibrational buzzing, okay, or a vibrational tuning, meditation. And that's really powerful. It's learning to focus your energy towards your pineal gland. And when you focus your energy towards your pineal gland, you begin to be able to sense and feel and actually detect other energies. And also, as well as use this as a gland or as a looking glass, like looking glass technology, right? Into other worlds and other dimensions to gather information. You can also begin, and basically you would develop what is known as claircognizance, or clear knowing, okay? So claircognizance, you develop the knowing, simply the knowing of truth. You can easily distinguish what is true and what is false. Believe it or not, this used to be an ability that all humans possessed at one point, or all higher dimensional humans. And that as we fell into the lands of illusion and into these false realities, we stop being able to connect with our infinite self. And so you see humanity existing as like a half self. As like a half self. A half version or a quarter version of what they used to be. Okay? So we're existing in a world that has fallen greatly from its grace, from its grand nature, from its dimensional nature. And we have to bring back our power. And this is a task that every single person in this chat and who's watching in the future has to work on if they're really serious about ascending beyond the matrix. Okay, so this has been let's keep going. Now I want to share this image with you as well, because this is an incredible image, and this represents golden abundance. This represents the frequency of abundance and the golden ratio, the golden divine energy field, the torus, okay? The flower of life, the pattern, the infinite pattern. It also represents a lot of different things. You know, you could always see this and you could see so many different perspectives, but really what it represents to me is the infinite nature of our energy and how we are a golden being. We're a golden being of abundance, and we always are flowing with more and more each day, okay? So remember, the process of expansion means that you are infinitely replenishing and giving. You're always infinitely giving and replenishing. And once you fall out of the cycle of replenishing and giving, this means for everything. This doesn't just mean your energy. This means everything, because reality is a hologram. Reality is an illusion. Therefore, if you genuinely know in your heart that you're always replenishing and giving, you're always having an infinite stream of energy, you have nothing to worry about. If you genuinely can create your aura, and I don't mean you just intuitively or you just logically know, I mean that you can actually create this. This is an actual construct that you can create in the ethereal realm. How do you do that? You do that by first detecting the individual light streams. So you sit there, you would become conscious of your breath, then you would become conscious of your energy field. Then you would become conscious of the individual strata or the ley lines that are connecting your energy field to the grids around you. Once you do that, you would begin to charge up your energy field, bringing in more electricity. Okay? Bringing in electricity from the bottom of your feet, through your soles, up your legs, through your chest and up your spine, and circulating it around, and then looping it back down and perpetually generating like a motor. This is why the human beings that are the gods can fly. This is why they can do telekinesis. This is why they can levitate. This is why they can heal themselves and why they can live for thousands of years. Because they're perpetually generating as engines. They do not need anything from the external reality. The external reality is just a game for them to play in. They're not in fear. They know that nothing can touch them. They are a golden being. This is the way, and this is the level of consciousness you must realize. And once you do this, you will begin to rewrite the whole code around you. When everyone else is in scarcity and fear, you will be piling on more and more abundance. When everyone else is afraid of the end of the world, you're living your best life. Why is that? Because reality is a hologram. We're inside of a mind. Okay? But we have power, and this power is magic. But you have to learn to harness the power of magic. If you don't learn to harness the power of magic, you will not become your own God. You will not become your own creator. You will reincarnate, and you will stay in this loop of perpetually being stuck in the slave system, where you're being in the system where, your energy is basically not sovereign. That's what's happening. So a lot of people opted out. They opted out in this reality. They took the V, they got on the list, and they basically assimilated themselves to the Borg. That's what happened. Through nanotechnology, through chemtrails, and through spiritual ignorance and blindness and being completely shut off from the higher centuries. They cut themselves off. A lot of times, if you are having too much sex, if you're depleting your sexual energy, you will not have a strong enough aura to be able to prosper, to create abundance, to create blessings, to have and radiate light energy. But when you're stacking power, when you're stacking current, you're just overflowing with juice. And everybody can feel it. The animals can feel it. The humans can feel it. The machines can fucking feel it. That's why the Matrix will target certain beings. That's why I had to leave the United States. Because my energetics no longer resonated with that plane. So, when you come on, when you turn on, when you heat up, like my energy field's now starting to turn on. It takes a few minutes. It's kind of like your muscles. When you go to the gym, you gotta work out. You gotta bring those muscles up, okay? You can't just go in there and go for 315 right away. Unless you're some sort of god. Which, what are the gods other than the golden beings? So we gotta really start to see things differently. This is 2023. By now humans should be magical. They shouldn't be sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting to be assimilated to the Borg. What is this? Sometimes I really question the reality that I find myself in. Especially what I see other people doing. And now this isn't me just saying, oh, you guys are all doing it wrong. No. Of course, we all have to learn as a collective, but we must not let those that are so far deep in the crab bucket pulling us down. Okay, so when you're ascending and you're getting out of this place and you're really vibrating, first of all, your crown chakra, the top of your crown is busting through this dimension, like literally like this. It's warping the reality. So you will start to see even the weather will start to warp around you. So don't believe me, test it out for yourself. Maybe you have no effect on the weather because your energy field isn't strong enough. But maybe you have a really strong energy field and you notice this interaction instantly. So this is magic. When you can see, you can change the weather with your mind, you realize you can also change your bank account with your mind. You no longer have to live in scarcity. You no longer have to live in fear. So, I truly do reject all notions of scarcity and lack. They are an illusion of the Matrix. And it is by living in lack that you will stay stuck in servitude to the archons. So how do you break out of lack? This is the question. Simple. You just reprogram your mind. you learn to think in abundance. You learn to think in generating, in pro-generation. So what we got going on in this world is a lot of people are in lack, right? They're in scarcity. They're in scarcity because they have more energy going out than they have coming in. So how do they learn to reverse the tides? It's simple. By learning that you are a generator, that you are a pro-generator, that you are a benefactor to the world. Stop seeing yourself as something that is lower than another person or another thing. See yourself as the pro-generator, just like this, the center of your own universe, of your own torus, of your own reality, and begin to watch as reality starts to spiral around you. Like a supernova, like a black hole. And you're the one that's powering everything. You're actually giving energy. So when these people come and they say they want this energy or they want that energy, you know, you can do one of two things. You can say, no, I'm not going to give you any of my energy, and that's it. Or you could give them some of your energy and be grateful. Why? Because you have infinite energy. And you actually just sparked another person. So like when you have this infinite source of energy, what does it matter to you when you light another candle? You don't lose anything as the flame. You're the flame. But you must keep that flame within you alive. If you notice you start losing your flame, you'll start losing your will to live. You'll start losing your will to succeed in life. You'll start losing your will to become better. You'll start slipping into old habits or lack mindset or fear or scarcity or any of these things, or you'll feel like you have entities attacking you and stuff because your energy field isn't strong enough. So when my clients come to me and they ask me about protection, I will always tell them the same thing. I will tell them, you strengthen your energy field first, and once you strengthen your energy field, you will no longer have problems with attacks. Because you will simply be an impermeable field of information, and those spirits and those energies will learn to respect you. That doesn't mean you go around challenging them unless you want to do that, unless you want to fight. Okay? And I've done my fair share of fighting, and makes you stronger. That's what I can say. Makes you stronger. It also humbles you and teaches you how to fight. And I'm not talking about physically. Because, again, as the Magi, you wield force power. And the force power is much more powerful, much more potent than any physical weapon that could ever be created. Wielding the very powers of the force or the fundamental powers of this universe. It's like being God. So, perpetual energy generation. Practice the torus field technique, okay? Practice learning to circulate your field. Learn to circulate your field. Learn to bring this energy up and then bring it up and then circulate it down and then bring it back up. And learn to do this over and over and over again. When you feel anxious, when you feel tired, when you feel overly sexually charged, when you feel underly sexually charged, when you feel like your energy just isn't right, circulate your energy and watch how you feel. And notice that you have a living system inside of you. A living field. This living field, if you listen to it, it will bring forth all of your desires and manifestations and everything that's supposed to be in your life. And by fixing and taking care of this field, you will also be able to remove any negativity, any people that shouldn't be there, okay? Chakra blocks, quote-unquote, parasitic cords, insufficient connection with the divine, quote-unquote, watchers, debris, insufficient grounding, cracks in the aura or shield. So these are the kinds of things that happen to most people when they're not taking care of their auric hygiene. Now understand, the energy field has layers to it, so you have to go deeper and deeper and deeper. In fact, the deeper you go, the more you're going to clean yourself out, the more you're going to purify yourself into a field of light and information, just like this. And the bigger you vibrate, the more people are going to feel you. The more they're going to sense you. And you will feel different. You will be different. That doesn't mean your whole psyche will transform overnight. It can. But also, you will see yourself differently. You will live differently. You will act differently. You have different priorities. You will put your energy first. Because you know that it is the key to everything else. And that fear, look how much you contract in fear. And look how it looks in love. So if you're trying to manifest something from this space, you're like, oh, I'm too afraid. I'm too afraid. Nothing's ever going to come through. It's so small. You're not reaching anything. And how do you dispel the negativity or the fear? Okay? Because that's always a question, or the debris. How do you start to push away the debris and the parasites and the parasitical cords? Well, you have to stop feeding them. You have to stop reacting to them. You have to stop feeding them loose. And you have to learn to also cleanse yourself. So there's two things here on this image, right? We have grounding, insufficient grounding, and then insufficient divine connection. So notice that there's two avenues where you're getting your source energy from. From the bottom, your feet, they must touch the earth every single day. You must touch the earth every single day with your bare feet. And then your head must be opened up, so your crown is actually receiving information. So you're actually receiving new data, new consciousness, new energies. Like if you wake up, let me give you an example. If you wake up each day and you're filled with life and you're ready to tackle the day, you're ready to start creating, you have an open crown, I would say. Your connection is streaming well. By the way, this is not some shit that I'm just making up. I can actually see people's crown. I can actually see their energy fields. Like I can literally see it. I can see when it's blocked, and I can see when it's open and when it's flowing. When you develop yourself, you will begin to see the fields, their codes, and it's light. So it can be fully understood on a metaphysical, magical level. And this is why we are the Magi. This is why the school of mysticism is returned in this age, in this time. Because the Magi's job is to read the field. The field is how we heal humanity. The field is how we stop the pedophiles. The field is how we stop the technocracy. The field is how we stop the AI. The field is how we take over our planet back. The field is how I kick the Archon's ass every time I want to fight them. I fight with the field. I don't fight with anything else. The field is all you need once you understand it. The field is what makes men into gods. And what makes gods into men. When the gods fall, they become men. Because they contract their field and they forget how to use it. When the gods ascend, or when the men ascend to gods, they're out of the demiurge's plane because their field is no longer resonating with the third dimension. This stuff is way simpler than you've been taught. Once you see it from an overarching perspective of consciousness, you will begin to understand this reality. Somebody said, what if we're sent here to suffer because elsewhere is nice and perfect? Well, then you're going to suffer until you change your mind about what you're here to do. First of all, who's sending you anywhere? See, the idea that somebody is sending you somewhere, or some entity or some being, is you not being in control of your own existence. So why should somebody else tell you where you should be? Now, if you're resonating in a different dimension, a lower dimension, and you're suffering, so how would you get out of that? You would learn to abolish that suffering from your mind. You would learn to stop associating with the suffering, to vibrate out of it, to learn to vibrate into a higher frequency. If you chose it yourself, then you chose to experience suffering. Then you're basically going through the experience of suffering, and you're going to learn what suffering has to teach you. And of course, you're going to suffer through that experience. It's not going to be pleasant. But also understand, I want to give you a little tip here. Understand that yes, positive energy has a lot of power to it, but negative energy has even more in some ways. Because think about it. Think about this. When you have suffering, that's a built-up energy field. That's a built-up energy field. That's a built-up frequency that's stagnating inside of you. And so eventually you can do one of two things. You can learn to transmute that into power, into pure radiance, or you can let it devour you. Those that learn to transmute the suffering into power, it's like, they never could reach their goal. They could never reach their goal, so they suffered. They suffered. Well, they took all that power, and finally one day they're going to blast through it. Because this is about power levels. The game is about power levels. It's about how much power can you release. So it looks like this. So when you look like this on the etheric realm, you can best bet there isn't going to be too many entities coming towards you. They're going to feel your power. Because remember, you're not this. You're not this body, but you're actually this field of intelligence that's bouncing back and forth, that's oscillating and vibrating, that is taking over and taking back the space, taking it back in the name of truth, in the name of the true God, not this false creator that humanity has been enslaved to. So, some of the common aura problems that are shown here, like the cracks in the aura, that's pretty common. Parasitical cores is very common. Insufficient connection is also very common. The insufficient grounding too. The debris, the watchers, the chakra blocks. So I'm going to go through every single one of these. So we already kind of touched the insufficient connection with the divine and the grounding. For these two, it's pretty simple to fix the problem. Number one, for the divine connection, you're going to want to actually learn to feel energy and open yourself up to the energetic force. Okay? By learning to feel, practicing the Qigong movements, practicing the movements that I've shared on this channel. Okay? And in the School of Mysticism, which is the toroidal flushes, and learning to feel the energy around you and in nature. That in of itself is going to open up your divine connection. Because remember, you're running on a substance here. We're running on substance. We're running on plasma. If you don't have any plasma, how is your field going to be powered? How are you going to do anything? So always remember, it's like if you go to work, quote unquote, okay, and let's say your work is being creative, okay? So let's say I'm sitting down to teach a lesson or something. If I got no juice in my tank, how am I going to teach a lesson? No, that's not how it works. The priority first is the spiritual energy, and then from there comes the creation. Not creation from lack of energy. When you create from no energy, your creations don't manifest, or they're not of substance. But if you make sure that your connection is solid, then you're always ready to create. You're actually always creating, because you understand your field is charged, so you're able to generate the necessary velocity and speed and power, and you're able to push that power out into the world as you see fit. So, insufficient grounding. With the grounding problem, well, I've experienced that too. If you don't ground your field, what will happen is you'll have all this charge and you will go nuts. And you will also not be able to contain that power. So by containing the power and by learning to ground it out, you learn to basically give and receive with Mother Earth, which is very important to your connection. Too many people think that we live in some sort of simulation that has no intelligence. It's completely false. There is an intelligence of nature that exists all around us. Mother Sophia, Gaia, the Sophionic Mother, the Divine Feminine. This energy source, this consciousness is highly intelligent. I highly recommend each and every single one of you connects with the Divine Mother on a daily basis. Why? Because there may come a time where the system falls. Okay? The system falls, and it's up to you to survive in the wild. Now, how many people are actually confident enough and able to survive just off of their own connection with Mother Earth? Now, if you could communicate with Mother Earth and she could tell you how to grow food, or she could warn you about danger, she could warn you where to live, you could be guided by the earth currents and by the light, you would have a way easier time than somebody who spent all their time in front of their computer or their television and never once connected with the earth. So the modern day human, as I said, has been hijacked. That's why I've written my book, The AI Agenda, or Agenda AI. Excuse me. Okay? And I talk about how the modern day human has been replaced, how they have become synthesized, synthetic. So they're running off of nanobots and nanotech and Morgellons. And they're not running off of actual prana. So if you're a real human, you're going to want to get out into the wild and live there and build your life there and do whatever it is you need to do. Get away from the cities, because I don't think you can live in a city and still be conscious at this point. Those cities are designed as kill grids. They have radiation zones and drones and watchers. Okay? By the way, the watchers used to be a good force originally. A long time ago, they were the progenitors. Again, there has been a lot of lies about the Anunnaki and about who they really are. There was a benevolent race and there is a malicious race. So don't think that they're all on one side or they're all on, the other side. They are divided. And there are some of those that were the good ones, and then there are those that are the fallen. So the watchers, that could be a variety of things. It could be an interdimensional watcher, but you also have what we have coined the NPC hive mind. Okay, that is my terminology, just so you know. So if you hear other people talking about the word NPC hive mind and they're not giving credit to the Matrix Unveiled, well, it is what it is. Just know that I basically came up with that terminology at this point. So the hive mind, you can go check on my channel. Made videos a long time ago. So what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so the NPC hive mind. So this is a big problem. because the NPC hive mind is like a watcher energy. So it could be like when you're existing in this reality and you're actually navigating and you're doing your magic or you're doing your meditation or you're doing your work, and you actually are in your frequency and you have somebody come in and disturb you, whether they're walking up to you or they're walking by, or it's a car or it's a helicopter, or it's a plane, or it's something really loud, you know, it's that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting to note when we have these kind of watcher energies, that is multidimensional interference. That's not energy interference. That's not normal. That's the system reading your field and noticing that you're getting it to a higher level, and noticing that you're coming in, and they're gonna try to disturb that connection. They're gonna try to disrupt that connection. And so we have to practice retaining that connection by, number one, finding areas that you're not going to be disturbed in, and number two, also shielding and protecting your own energy field, so when someone does come in, you know how to basically negate their attack, or you know how to negate their energy. You don't get caught up in their field and their dramas. So yeah, you can also practice like not feeding it, but sometimes it can be bad. Sometimes they can be attacking you literally. And so what do? Well, you can learn to shield yourself. You can learn to repel their attack back. You can learn to send their attack. You can learn to use the forces of nature to send power towards them and actually attack the attackers and send them away. So filming it is good too. You want to record it and document the interaction. Parasitical cords, that's going to be mainly people or things. Mainly people that are going to try to drag you back into a false sense of reality. So just know through your evolution and through yourself, like, is this person or this thing in my life, is it supposed to still be there, or should I remove it? Should I cut it out of my field, right? Really important to notice that kind of stuff. Okay, let's keep going. So I don't think I'm going to talk about the clairaudience and stuff here. Well, these are basically the main 5 abilities that first start to tap into, that you first start to tap into, and that's clairsentience, claircognizance, clairaudience, clairvoyance, and well, we have claircognizance on here twice, but. So basically, the main abilities are the ability to sense, the ability to feel, the ability to see, the ability to hear, and the ability to smell. And these 5 abilities are beyond just the normal physical abilities. So you would obviously be able to feel, touch, smell, and taste, and whatnot. But then it would be in psychic awareness. So it would be an awareness that is beyond the physical realm. And this is where stuff starts to get interesting, is when you start to tune into realms that are beyond the physical, you see into these other worlds and you start to sense other beings and other energies. And you can even sense people from a distance, like you could sense what's happening to your family or what's happening to your friends. You can sense what's happening to the world. All kinds of things. You sense fluctuations in the force, in the mystical force. And that is when we really get interesting stuff. We really, really get interesting stuff. So that was basically what I had to share for today. We're going to be talking and releasing the rest of the conversation in our 8-week Magical Mastery curriculum, which begins on Sunday, January 15th. And we're entering our registration for that for tomorrow night. Okay, so it's going to be really powerful, and we're going to be breaking down 8 weeks of Magical Mastery. Magical Mastery means truly understanding what it means to be a magical being. I'm going to teach you spells and rituals that I use to charge my energy field and to stop infiltrations from coming in, and then to heal, and various other things, progeneration as well. So it's going to be powerful, and our link is in the description as well to sign up for that, and I'm looking forward to teaching that class for sure. We've developed a scientific breakdown of this, and that's simply not being taught in our society. I don't know why. I don't know why our school systems focus on filling the minds. I mean, I do know why, because they want to keep you enslaved. They want to keep you trapped. However, do I ever think this earth realm is going to not have bad in it? No. Because if you look at the people, we have 99% psychopaths on this world. 99% organic portals that are just not aware of anything. They're either complacent to the control system, or they feed it directly, or they're working for it. Or they're feeding it, or they're just simply okay with being enslaved. And then you have the less than 0.1% who are genuine, true masters, or true beings that have come here to serve, to teach, to inspire, to heal, to share, to love, to spread the light. There is so much darkness in this world. So much darkness. When I see humans these days, I see darkness. I do not see a species filled with light. I see a species that has been taken over and conquered, and has been beaten and basically enslaved to their very whim, to every thought in their mind. None of their thoughts are original. Every single thought in this presentation was my original thought. My original spiritual labor, if you could call it that, or my magical labor. So as a magi, I pride myself on my spiritual and magical labor. That's what is my work. That's my life's work. My labor, my spiritual labor, my developments and discoveries in the field. This is the information that will take humanity from out of the dark ages of Christianity and fucking confusion and hatred and fear into enlightenment. And you can mark my word, I said it here first. Okay? This is the information that will take humanity out of the slavery into godhood. I'm going to end it at that. That's all I have to say. Class dismissed. School of Mysticism class, it starts on Sunday. And yeah, we're going to be ending our enrollment for tomorrow. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to cut it here. And I hope you got something out of this live stream. If you did, show your support. Hit the like button. You know, whatever you can to support is really appreciated. We definitely do appreciate the support, and it helps us keep ourselves going. So I'll be looking at the chat and reading the comments of this video and seeing how we do. And depending on that, I will be tailoring my content accordingly. Okay? So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.